Hello, big battle report today because we're doing Battle of Fornost from Rise of Angmar. Though he managed to escape the attack on Fornost, Arvedui never returned from the north, and, with his loss, Arnor fell into the hands of Angmar. Over the next year, the Witch King continued to inflict yet more ruin on Arnor, razing any cities or fortifications that still stood as monuments to their former inhabitants. With the ruin of Arnor as his foundation, the Lord of the Nazgul could shape his new realm into one of darkness and despair to mirror that of Mordor. Yet to the south, the kingdom of Gondor has prepared to seek vengeance upon Angmar for the loss of its sister kingdom. Arnor has gathered to him an army of loyal followers and marched northwards to war. Yet as grand as his force is, Arnor cannot achieve victory over the Witch King's legions alone, and has called upon those who oppose the Lord of the Nazgul to join him in battle. To his side, Arnor has called the remnants of the people of Arnor, who have made their homes within the wilderness of the north. These people are led by Aranath, the son of Arvedui, who has forgone the title of king and instead become the first chieftain of the Dunedain. From Rivendell and the Grey Havens, an army of elves has come to join the fight against the Witch King of Angmar. Even a small contingent of hobbits from the Shire have come to do their part. However, the forces of Angmar are strong and have garrisoned the ruins of Fornost. If the combined forces of the free people of Middle-earth are to drive them from Arnor, it will take every ounce of strength they can muster and no doubt cost many good lives. Yet should they fail, then the northern lands of Middle-earth will forever be shrouded in darkness. Okay, so we're doing a few things differently from the book. We're sort of keeping the spirit the same, in that the objectives are the same, and the main heroes are the same. The main differences are there's 5 of us and we all wanted to chuck about a decent number of models, so we basically upped the points to 2,500, whereas they were about 1,500 per side. So we've sort of designed the list to sort of keep in with the theme of the participants here. So, for example, the Warriors of Minas Tirith still, based on what comes in the box, as Games Workshop always do for scenarios. We've chucked in a few little goodies, but nothing that's sort of too meta-y or gross or whatever. I think the main difference is we've beefed up the sort of Remnants of Arnor contingent, which was a lot smaller than the other two. So we've sort of beefed it up just to sort of replicate, that idea of it being sort of made of sort of the remnants of inhabitants of Arnor. So you've kind of got a few warriors of Arnor who have sort of, been called back to the banner for sort of one last hurrah. You've got Halbarad, who's not actually Halbarad, he's just kind of like meant to be arranged with the North Captain type figure. So we've done all that, and then obviously with Angmar, it's just adding Gully and Birdur and a whole bunch of other stuff really, but all still very themey and sort of broadly quite balanced. The board is 6 foot by 4 foot, simply for being able to actually fit models on the board really. The deployment's more or less the same. So all the good guys deploying, sort of like 12 inches away from each other. And Fornost taking up a quarter of the board that evil sort of have to surge out of. They have to surge out of it because they've got so few bows, so if they sort of stay back they'll just get shot to pieces. So I think the idea is evil's meant to sort of sally forth really. But yeah, with that, let's just crack on with the game.
Hi, I'm Thomas.
I'm Cameron.
Taking Angmar.
We're taking Angmar.
Okay, so team good here. I'm bringing Gondor, led by Arnor, and he's leading lots of tin cans.
I've got Rivendell with Glorfindel and Círdan.
I've got Arnor with Halbrad and what's his name?
Aaron. Right, so not too much to report on the first move phase. Basically Charlie's staying put on our right just to maximise bows because he has a stupid amount of shooting, so just not moving, it's perfect. I'm sort of moving up my tin cans sort of to take his space between a tower and a bit of an outcrop, just to sort of anchor my flanks a bit and just kind of shield wall up. I'm just sort of moving knights on both my flanks, mostly committing to the right flank with Aeonir. Got Citadel Guards sort of just milling about at the moment. Got the bolt thrower at the back, just ready to do bolt thrower stuff. On the other side, James is just sort of moving his infantry towards my infantry and sort of pottering about on his left flank with shooting Rivendell Knights, sort of a bit more skirmishy over there. Evil just barrelling out, setting up a heroic march on both sides for next time. They've sent the Wild Wargs ahead. This is a bit of a screening, and also I assume if any of them survive the shooting, to go and tie up some archers and sort of mitigate the shooting. First turn shooting, singularly unimpressive for me. I think I popped a single orc archer on the corner tower. I lost one of my tin cans in response, which is always a bit disappointing. James did much better. He killed an archer and two guys sort of, in their big blob. I think the blob is so huge you can actually see the back of it from some of his horses. Charlie pretty much just machine gunned down the wargs and then started to feel slightly guilty, so targeted the orcs, which at the arrows more or less bounced off because of the shields. Bolt thrower did nothing, so we will see if that continues to be a theme of the game. Okay, turn 2. Obviously we had priority turn 1 on the good side, because it's narrative scenario, so good always has priority turn 1. We won priority turn 2 and chose to give it to the evil side just because it sort of lets us react to what they're doing a lot. Their tactics were pretty simple at this stage. That's obviously just calling the double march, bringing forwards two massive bubbles towards us. And the remaining wargs just sort of charging in, trying to basically prevent shooting. If they sort of kill something, then great. But I think the idea is just to sort of try and limit the bow fire coming back towards them. From our side, Charlie moves 3 inches back just to get another turn of shooting, and also try and put most of his force out of charge range for next turn. So just giving him a couple of turns of shooting, or at least shooting this turn, and then being able to sort of choose combats and stuff a bit more. Well, choosing where he charges is what I mean. Next turn, my tin cans just sort of head towards that choke point again, and my cav sort of come up on Charlie's left. In terms of sort of Arnor's disposition at the moment, I think their right flank's a bit cooked because it's just got lots of hobbits and a few rangers, and I think there's only one Dunedain kicking around over there. The idea is that he's going to leave a bit of an opening for me to sort of sling some cav through, but it's quite tight actually. We're just sort of running out of space because of the number of models. On the other side, James is just pushing his shield wall up near mine, and he's sort of starting to threaten the rear. Sort of the rear bubble that was left out of the march on the evil side in Fornost itself, so sort of moving some cav around that way. And Gully's still at the back. The Shade's sort of spending his will to do that annoying thing where he makes it harder to shoot. And the Witch King seems to have a big old bodyguard of several hill trolls. So that's it for the move phase. Turn 2 combat, not super eventful because there's only a few things that are in. So Evil managed to use their shades to sort of convince a couple of hobbits to come running out of the battle line, who promptly got charged, one of which died, which is very, very sad. Elsewhere, wargs mostly bouncing off. I think they may have killed a ranger somewhere, but for one of them we sort of just loaded it up with a couple of Dunedain and one of my charging knights, just to call the combat, to then sort of get everyone back out of there, just to buy a bit more space and time for shooting and stuff. But overall, not too eventful. But obviously everyone lining up for stuff to come. Okay, so turn 3, we won priority again. I guess we'll find out if this is a theme of the game. But we gave it to the evil team. However, Charlie called a move with his sort of one Dunedain hanging around on the right flank just to pull everyone pull everyone out of charge range. Evil let this go off, I think, just because might conservation's going to be quite important because it's relatively low hero count. And then with that done, they sort of just charge forwards with their big blobs. They weren't really able to get many fights going. Shades did manage to pull some guys forwards to sort of get some combats and stuff. But the Witch King sort of starts to float to the middle with his hill troll bodyguard. They pull some orcs over to try and sort of guard their flank against my sort of incoming shield wall. So they're sort of trying to cover all the bases, get the Shade in the middle. It soon becomes apparent the Shade's in the middle because he's going to cast his nonsense and put Gully bang in the middle, ready to charge next turn, which is obviously an incredibly tempting target for all my shooting. You'll see how that goes. In Fornost itself, they're sort of leaving a little rear guard behind because Rivendell's starting to surge through there with the Riv Knights and Glorf. The archers are sort of starting to shuffle up a bit that way. The Shield Wall of Círdan and Arrestor sort of just coming to back me up as I sort of push forwards with my Shield Wall again. I decide, no, I just bang Eärnur now, because obviously there's Witch King not too far away, and obviously you can cast through the Shade. I've also got some Barrow-wights nearby, but ultimately if Eärnur's going to get paralysed or whatever, at the moment there's only orcs anywhere near him, and I've got the Citadel Guard sort of in anti-fly formation protecting his bum as well, so making sure that Gully can't just sort of snake in there. But yeah, so sort of quite a few combats, I suppose, but mostly sort of interesting in terms of manoeuvring, probably. So let's get into the shoot phase, see how Gully fares. So it's pretty massive, I think, for sort of the course of the game. Gully's in the open, he's a large target. Well, he's not in the open, but you know what I mean. He's as open as he's likely to be before he's in combat for the rest of the game. So my opening gambit was to roll a 1 with the bolt thrower and then miss, because obviously Evil Team had sort of shaded up to give neg 1s and to shooting on Gully, and obviously neg 2 if you're also within 12 inches of it. So shooting's pretty tough. A lot of bows bounced off. I did kill a few archers with a couple of the guys that couldn't see Gully, but yeah, ultimately it was up to Charlie's Arnold to chip a couple of wounds off. So at least Gully is down to only 2 wounds, and obviously his attacks are the same as his wounds, so it kind of just means he's more susceptible to whiffing, I guess. So it's not the worst thing, but if we were going to take Gully out of the game, this would have 100% been the time to do it. But alas, the dice gods were not having it. So 2 wounds down, he's very much in play for next turn. Okay, so fight phase. No combats for Team Rivendell yet. They're just sort of lurking, getting ready for next turn, charging, I think. In terms of Gondor, all I had was where Charlie sort of had opened up a little gap for me. I had Eärnur and a Charging Knight. I won both combats. Charging Knight killed one, Eärnur killed both of the guys he was against. The temptation was to call a combat with Eärnur, but it's like, where's he going? He's just gonna, he can kill 2 more orcs. It's like big whoop when there's like 80 of them. Yeah, it's gonna be a long game, so he saved his might. Same deal with the captain. He and the Citadel Guard were sort of tempted just to sort of call a combat and push on, but it's just not worth it at this point. There's a bit of push and pull in the middle, Ardor holding its own, and the hatred Angmar built into a lot of the Arnor stuff's profile definitely coming in handy. Over on the other side, on the right flank of Arnor, hobbits sort of started to capitulate a bit, and where Shades has sort of dragged hobbits forwards, Aldrak called a combat off of one, sort of got it pulled towards him, charged it, called a combat off it, went into a couple more hobbits, and sort of was tearing it up. It's not too bad, to be honest. It's one of those where, because there's not a ton of heroes in the game, it's a bit like if he spends a might doing that, that's okay for a few hobbits. It's not bad, I think. But yeah, I think it's all set up to basically just be mental next turn, with Rivendell charging into Fornost and charging those werewolves, Wild Chief and sort of orcs lurking around, my shield wall getting stuck into the orc shield wall, and then sort of Aenir and the blob of Arnor there doing the business, and meanwhile the Arnor right flank continuing with its mission of dying slowly and trying to keep Aldrak and the Witch King and some other nasty stuff over there away from the things we care about. So with that, it's into turn 4. Okay, so big turn. Obviously, good wins priority again. Seems to be the theme of the game. The evil players call a heroic move with their captain's last might next to Aenir. I don't think we contest this, or if we do, we lose, but I'm pretty sure we don't contest it at all. Because we just need to, I think we just need to save the might, really. And all they can really get in is they sort of just sling a bunch of orcs into like Aenir and all his buddies around it, but it's just like, they're orcs, not a big deal. More worrying is that Gully just sort of gets slung into a bunch of rangers sort of in Charlie's centre, which is quite scary because you just sort of worry about whether he'll kill those two, go back up to 4 attacks and call a combat and go and land on something more important. Part of the reason we didn't contest it is because Gully couldn't actually get into anything good, so obviously yes, he's farming a few kills to get his wounds back up, but we weren't going to be able to charge him this turn anyway, and he was always going to get stuck into something, so it's not too bad. And it also sort of pulls their shield wall opposite mine. They're sort of a bit stuck because I think they fall within the move, but then obviously they either sort of have to get dragged out of the choke point or just sit there, so they end up just sitting there, which sort of maroons the troll they got with them a little bit. And heading over to our move, I basically just engage my shield wall onto their shield wall, which gets stuck in. I'll sling a knight in as well because there's space. Elves starting to move up behind me. Charlie is just sort of engaging all over now. Obviously the shooting game's over, so he's just sort of charging around and stuff. He sort of slings 6 or so rangers onto his far right flank just to hold up some more of Calm Doom and orcs at a troll. So sort of mission die slowly is sort of still in effect, pretty much from where Gully is onwards. Luckily, Rivendell get the drop on the sort of the evil rearguard in Fornost. So there's a lot of charging there. There is some counter charging with the Wild Chieftain, so potentially a combat coming our way, which is quite scary. So a bad turn might mean we lose a bunch of Rivendell Knights, but I don't think Glorf's going anywhere. So yes, that's it. So on to combat, I guess. There's probably not really going to be much shooting. I'll tell a lie, the shoot phase was mildly interesting. My bolt thrower finally turned up and shot over everyone's head to kill a werewolf lurking about by the city walls. That was pretty nice. My archers cleared off, I think probably the remaining archer or orc archer sort of lurking in the tower, but there might be one left, I can't remember. But yeah, pretty insignificant now. I've cleared off the majority between me and the Elfie boys. I forgot to say during the move phase, I spent two might, 2 will with Aenir to resist a paralyze, and then he's got a transfix because obviously it went off on a 3 and then I rolled a 1 on my 1 remaining will. So Aenir's on 1 might, 1 fate and transfixed. So that's how the fight phase sort of started. So if we sort of go left to right a bit, the Rivendell Knights, 3 of them won their fights and did a pretty reasonable job, but the Wild Chief called a sort of semi-risky combat, I guess, because they're fight 5 the same as the Rivendell Knights, but it paid off because he tromped two knights, so that's pretty scary, bearing in mind there's only 6 to start with. Glorfindel had to spend a might to win the combat he was in, which is pretty sad, really, because you thought Lord of the West would do the trick, but no. But he did kill, I think he was in combat with a couple of orcs and a werewolf, so it's not too bad. We did consider a combat, and sort of lucky we didn't in the end. In the middle, my shield wall gets the better of it, and I pretty much win all the combats that I was in and killed a lot of orcs. I think I lost a few in the middle, but didn't suffer any wounds. So we're still trying to sort of just push through and make a hole so that we can basically push all the elves through and get into their sort of rear line and start trapping stuff and doing the Lord's work. Over on Airn's side, there's a bit of push and pull with the Arnor. I think we killed a few orcs, lost a few rangers. Airn won his combat, so obviously didn't make strikes or anything. So kind of holding our own there. And then Gully had a bit of a nightmare. He lost to 3 rangers. He had to spend 2 might to win that combat, which is obviously really bad. But the risk is that they just a couple of 5s and he's down. So he has to spend the might really. But he just gobbled them back up to 4 wounds. So that's well worth 2 might in my opinion, versus probably a dead Gully, because he's in the dice. Aldrak has a nightmare. He bounces off 2 hobbits and loses a wound. On the far right flank, the Rangers sort of just hold their own against the warriors of Carndum, and Hill Troll's not engaged yet. He launched a rock in the shoot phase, which didn't really go anywhere. So overall, possibly good advantage that fight phase, but still pretty close. So turn 5, I think again it was another good priority, but there were some moves called. Unfortunately, Glorf had to call a move. It's obviously a bit unfortunate to waste his might on a move, but there was a counter up there from Evil, and then in the centre as well. I think there was a ranger calling, and I think maybe the sort of final orc captain or something used a might. Either way, Good chose to go. I think Good won the roll off, and chose to go with Glorf, which to my mind made the most sense to pick the important charges down there, get him into the Warg Chief, hoping he can one pump it. Because obviously he's charging infantry there, and obviously getting the rest of the cav to sort of tie up. A couple of Gondor knights coming in behind, along with his archers as well, to help out. In the centre, well, in fact, so then it was Evil's turn to move. So Gully got in, and obviously all their models in the centre getting in as well. Hill Troll's still sort of boxed out, so you got Birder and 3 trolls just sort of milling about at the back. So I think they're in a bit of an awkward position there. And then there's just my shield wall sort of going in, doing the business. Obviously, yes, like I said, Gully charging, and then the guys on Charlie's far right flank just sort of continuing to butt heads with the evil models over there. So with that, into the fight phase. Right, so into the fight phase, starting off with the Rivendell guys. Obviously their main shield wall's still sort of stuck behind mine, so not too much going on over there, but quite a lot going on in Fornost itself. Obviously Glorf got the charge on the Warg Chief and just one pumped him, which is glorious. One of the knights lost but didn't die. The other ones all sort of won and killed orcs and a werewolf as well, so that's pretty nice. Sort of moving over to Gondor Centre. The shield wall was just sort of starting to churn orcs a bit, but we're going to run into trouble I think next turn with that troll backline, which I don't really have an answer for, because it's just Men of Minas Tirith led by a captain down there, so I think we're going to need to lean on Arestor and Círdan and some Elfie boys to try and restore order there. Erno wasn't sort of subject to any magic, so that was nice. So he just killed his man. So that was all right. Aranath, forgot to say he resisted to paralyze in the move phase, so he was all right. So the sort of Arnor left doing okay. Sort of Arnor left / Gondor right, sort of intermingling a bit. Arnor Centre is capitulating, basically. A bit of Aranath and Gully sort of chopping everything is it's pretty much just sort of gone now, more or less. But Charlie's sort of extreme right still doing okay, just sort of bouncing off those warriors of Khan Doom over there. So bearing in mind those 6 dudes were a bit of a throwaway, just to tie some stuff down, and they are still living and still tying stuff down. So not bad. So yeah, it's a pretty big turn into turn 6 now. Okay, so this was quite a big turn because the evil side is broken. So normally in narrative scenarios you don't break in the same way you would for match play, but one of the special rules for scenarios that you do in this case. So good team's done a very good job sort of just removing orcs really. So we've removed a lot of orcs and the evil team is now broken. However, I think coverage tests were sort of broadly passed. Obviously you got a lot of standfasts kicking around, and I think the warriors out of range of it just did quite well holding on. So that's good. No sort of major casualties for courage tests. So either one priority, which is quite novel for this game. So we had a few moves called. I believe the Arnor captain called a move down there next to Eoner, and the Minister captain called a move just towards the left side of the Minister shield wall. This is just to pin stuff in place, keep the hill trolls boxed out, and just pick our battles a bit and get a few sort of charges off of like Eoner and etc. So Burda countered, which obviously is a bit of a shame for the evil team because Burda basically just had to sort of stay put in the middle, but it did mean they were sort of able to rearrange everything around it. So the hill trolls managed to get in the centre, all 3 charged in, and then they sort of just held Eoner's sort of band back. So that's quite good. So the Minister captain, his move was cancelled because he was charged by a troll. Okay, so with the Arnor captain, we didn't call a with me. This is just because the horse had sort of bolted a bit. So Burda was a pretty good move in that way, in that he shot two moves down. So that's pretty good from evil. Evil players managed to paralyse Aranath, which was pretty scary. Gully got in a fairly good position, and they used some spectres to pull a couple of my models sort of out of position. And whilst it sort of boxed Gully in a bit, it kind of meant we weren't able to trap him very easily. And in fact, we failed a few courage tests to trap him. I used my sort of bodyguard citadel to get some bodies in, which is obviously a bit high risk because obviously if I lose, they'll just get knocked over with the monstrous charge. So Gully's in a bit of a nasty position because he may well be able to barge. But from the good team, it was a bit better. So on Glorf's side, the evil side did all the charging, but I had a few near Minister Knights sort of hanging back, and they got stuck in, so we at least sort of got a few charges off. Gondor Shield Wall did not go amazingly, but Círdan did call wins a troll out of combat, and we were sort of able to open up sort of a hole in my line to sort of filter some elves through, so Arestor was able to charge with a friend and sort of starting to sort of get a bit of a breach in the line there, so that was pretty good. But yeah, with that it's on to the fight phase because there's not really any shooting, I think. I forgot to mention as well that Eoner had also copped a paralyse, and obviously I rolled really guff, so Eoner's off his horse, so that was a pretty bad turn for paralyses because Aranath and Eoner both got paralysed, which is pretty nasty. I managed to back Eoner up with a spearman though, so at least I've got a dice in that fight, but I've got a very angry orc captain opposite him. But sort of go from left to right. Basically in Fornost itself, Rivendell was just sort of cleaning up really. I don't see orcs sort of lasting more than another turn or two. And sort of in the Gondorian shield wall bit. I suppose it's now actually a Gondorian Rivendell shield wall because the elves are sort of filtering through a bit, so that's pretty nice. So in terms of orcs, I think my guys just sort of cleaned up a bunch of orcs. Trolls less so. So we lost both troll fights. So the one nearest Fornost held at Círdan, which I sort of very quickly worked out is going to be the strategy every turn because that's the best way they have of killing our characters, and at least forcing a draw if things sort of continue to deteriorate. But the troll on the other side, it was a bit doubtful whether you could reach Círdan, so he just squished two Gondorians. But Arrestor was able to sort of, obviously last move phase, he sort of broke through the line and charged the troll that was prone from cool winds. And he was just able to one pump it because obviously it's trapped because it's prone. So very good work from Arrestor. Sort of in around Éonair, Éonair spear sort of backed him up, rolled a 6, but the Orc captain rolled a 6 as well, won the roll off. Did a wound on Éonair, naturally I rolled a 1 on the fate. That sounds about right. So yeah, Gully potentially sort of barging Aranath was a very risky sort of proposition for us. However, Gully completely whiffed and copped 2 wounds from my Citadel Guard, so that was pretty nice. And yeah, sort of elsewhere in the Arnorian side, sort of the middle sort of continues to capitulate really, so it's kind of forming a bit of a tighter ring around kind of where I'm sort of backing them up as well. So we've got a mixture of sort of Arnor and Gondor shield wall still going, but a lot of the Rangers are squished. However, on the sort of right flank, the Arnor Rangers continue to hold and kill some Warriors of Kharndum, so that's pretty nice. Yeah, so still all to play for. With that, into the next turn. Right, so on to turn 7. Shockingly, we're back to form with good winning priority, and also good winning the heroic roll-off move. So I think Nazthak and Birda called for evil, and then I believe we called one the Éonair, and we called one by the Rivendell lot as well. But we chose to go with obviously the lot by Éonair. So so obviously the Arnor captain just sort of charging in there, and basically the the mission is to get Éonair, who's no longer paralysed, up and into Gully, because obviously I'll match Gully's fight value for free, and I believe he had a might left as well, which I was saving for the strike. So by all accounts we got him dead to rights, because we managed to get the trap on him, get Éonair in, and five friends as well, I think, or 5 or so, and I boxed out stuff from the other side, meaning a combat couldn't get through to untrap Gully, especially since we have Prio anyway, so we obviously just do Gully before anything else. So that was all going very well, and obviously we tagged a bunch of stuff down there. And then Nazthak obviously went next, and we just copped a bunch of charges up there, but Nazthak obviously got us stand fast off. And as part of our move with the captain, we got Arrestor into Birda to switch off that move as well. So obviously quite a risky move, Birda and Arrestor, but if anyone can deal with Arrestor, then maybe Birda, then it might be Arrestor. However, I was always worried the evil players would figure out a way to pull apart our perfectly laid plans, and sure enough, a Barrow White snuck into range after we failed to calls wind him, and he paralysed Éonair. So it's really not good. And sort of by our shield wall area, we're just sort of breaking through now, so we're properly filtering through the remnants of the Orc shield wall, sort of lying between the two normal hill trolls. And yeah, that's it really. Witch King continuing to not do a huge amount. I think he tried to chuck a transfix to sort of help Gully out, and it didn't come off. So, but it seems like it probably won't matter because the paralysis has come off, which is not what we wanted. But overall, still a good move phase, I think, for the good players. Okay, so bad news for the good players. Gully won his roll-off. Obviously had the higher fight because Éonair couldn't use his special rule to equal Gully's fight. So Gully won and killed Éonair and got a wound back as a result. So bad news. So one of the 4 heroes is now officially down that the evil player needs to kill. And this was despite Adrak calling a heroic combat behind him and sort of chopping some stuff up. along with the Shadow of Rudar, but not able to get to Gully, but still killing a few dudes. And obviously with Eärnur lost and Gully not so surrounded anymore, it's a bit of a sticky wicket over there, frankly. But elsewhere we did quite well. I think our warriors generally sort of crunching through enemy warriors quite effectively, orc warriors even, especially in kind of my centre. I think we've well and truly broken through there. But the two trolls sort of causing a bit of trouble still with my captain getting hurled into Círdan again. So classic move there. Erestor lost to Burda but only took 1 wound, so that wasn't too bad. And the Rivendell Knights still just sort of cleaning up, but obviously not as effectively because they were countercharged. But I think so. There's still a lot of evil, sort of big stuff lurking about. So obviously Gully, Witch King, a few trolls, Burda, that sort of thing. But I think, sort of in terms of warrior on warrior, I think it's definitely a good advantage at the moment. But with that, we'll get into the next turn. Okay, so bad start to turn 8 for the good team. So we lost priority and the roll off, which is unfortunate. Sorry, the roll off for heroic moves, I should say. So what this meant is that Adrak could get into Aranath, who's still paralysed. Gully obviously just charged a bunch of Gondorians just to sort of box everyone else out. And obviously able to use Standfast etc. to keep all the forces sort of happy over there. So they went to obviously their normal move. So over by Glorfindel, Nazthrak ran away, as did a bunch of the orcs over there. However, evil team had just enough orcs to be really irritating and just lock down all the cavalry, apart from Glorfindel, who's now starting to run past to try and link up with sort of Erestor's spear point. Obviously Burda got into combat, but Círdan winsed him back out, which is pretty nice. So it's justification for keeping him in hurling range of everything. On the far right flank of Arnor, things are looking very good. The hill troll and pretty much everything over there has run away. So sort of a throwaway band of 6 dudes has somehow just sort of held out and seen everyone off, so that was pretty nice. So we're lined up to a pretty exciting combat phase, I think. It could be the end of Aranath, but we will see. Right, so into the fight phase, sort of going from left to right, I suppose. The Rivendell boys in Fornost cleaned up, so there's pretty much no orcs left in the city, which is nice. Obviously we've got all our archers sort of streaming into the fortifications and stuff as well, so that's pretty cool. In the middle, I think just good continuing to slap any orcs that are left there. However, the 2 hill trolls win their fights again. One tried to barge into Círdan, but I think he was just out, but he still killed a couple of guys stood next to Círdan, so that's mildly terrifying that the turn's ending with those 2 facing off. The other hill troll just won and hurled a fellow into the banner. The banner lived, but it's prone. That's my banner, I should say. The Minas Tirith won, the Rivendell won, still flying high. And I think around where Eärnur sort of started off, that kind of little concave just to the right of the rock formation, we have pretty much cleaned up there. The orc captains died and there's suddenly a massive breach there. So whilst there's a lot of nasty stuff sort of on our right flank, actually our sort of Minas Tirith and Rivendell shield wall in the centre sort of pushed through and is linking up with what remains of Eärnur's sort of bodyguard and the Arnor shield wall. So that's pretty nice. What's also nice is that Gully lost his fight and copped a wound, so that's always entertaining. Witch King had to spend a might to kill somebody. But the bad news is that Aranath is dead. He was paralysed and Adrak just went in and bonked him on the head. And so that's 2 of the 4 heroes we need to protect down. So that's Arnor and Gondor's heroes. So we're sort of relying on Rivendell heroes not dying to avoid conceding a draw when things are going quite well, frankly. But there's still plenty of big nasty evil things kicking around, so with that, let's get into the next turn. Right, so evil priority, which actually suits us just fine in terms of sort of forcing courage tests, and it does pay off whilst Gully does stay and gets a charge in, as do all the blokes sort of in that area because of various standfasts and stuff. Berda runs away, and bearing in mind Berda's pretty untouched. He's obviously used a lot of might, but well, he's used all his might, which was the problem with the courage test. But he's off, and I think there's no orcs left in Fornost itself, and there's only the 2 hill trolls and like literally 1 or 2 orcs in the centre. So Glorfindel charges the troll nearest him, and I try and sort of surround the other troll with stuff including sort of captains and stuff. The sort of archers don't really have anything to do, so they're sort of just streaming into Fornost, because it sort of just looks cool, really. We've completely broken through in the centre, because there's just nothing left there. So our sort of Gondor and Rivendell shield walls literally just coming in and meeting in the middle with the sort of survivors of Aenor's original little war band. With pretend Halbarad leading the charge. Obviously he's just filling in, pretending to be a sort of ranger captain type figure. So it's looking really bad for evil. They failed a bunch of courage tests, and it's pretty much good models everywhere, and there's kind of literally a sort of remnant of the evil army sort of around Gully and Adrak and the Witch King, and other than that the 2 hill trolls, and that's it really. So looking good for Team Good at this point. Okay, so apologies, I forgot to turn the main camera on for the fight phase. We don't have the time lapse, but just a quick overall summary. Not too much happened, to be honest. We sort of just continued to clean up. Glorfindel kills the troll he was in combat with. The other one wins and sort of does a bit of damage. Gully and Adrak just win their fights and kill some stuff, but that's it really. I think the evil success is limited to Troll, Gully and Adrak, and the rest of it is just sort of stuff being cleaned up or about to be cleaned up next turn, I suspect. So we decided to call it there, just because I think there's about 30 evil models and over 100 good models. So those of those 6 rangers sort of throw away on the right flank, 4 survive and just sort of see off all comers, which is pretty nice. Adrak does cause a lot of carnage, but not quite enough in the end. Gully does pretty well, but he ends up sort of a bit stuck in that area second half of the game. Still doing a bit of damage, but sort of limited menace. Witch King sort of potted about and did a few spells, but didn't have too much of an influence. But obviously the evil players trying to protect him. And then you got our sort of 2 main shield walls just sort of push through and met in the middle really. Nothing really left. That hill troll's probably getting Glorfindelled next turn. Kurdan had a lot of people thrown at him but still standing. Fornost is very much reclaimed, although probably not as nice as it used to be. But yeah, with that, we're calling that a good victory. So not quite a tabling, but it's close enough. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed that. So it was a pretty clear good victory in the end. We sort of called it because in order to table, evil would take ages, but I think you guys lost like 119 and we lost sort of about 50.
I think it was 140 something models. So
yeah, so you had about 30
left,
more or less, give or take.
Yeah.
So we sort of called it there. The Witch King was alive and kicking, but obviously in the lore he runs off, doesn't he? He doesn't die, so that's all alright.
Mm-hmm.
Although Aenor's a bit like more dead than he should be.
Yes.
In terms of the game, obviously Charlie did the business with shooting, and obviously I had a lot of bows as well. Didn't really do anything, and likewise elves didn't do that much. But
That was your bolt thrower.
yeah, cheers. Yeah, so obviously you kind of just tried to focus on Arnor and then hope that the rest of the armies would kind of be a bit too slow to sort of get involved, and that sort of worked to a degree. But I think I was able to sort of support Charlie with some of my stuff, and then sort of push through the middle of the shield wall with sort of Rivendell coming in behind, and then their Riv Knights go around the side. So we kind of managed to hold a bit, and then sort of punch through and all meet up in the middle. And I think the problem is we just killed so many orcs that he broke, and I wonder if like getting all the big hill trolls in turn 1 might have been a
We
bit
couldn't.
better.
I think the issue was the deployment and being sort of
Yeah, a
locked
bit
into
tight.
the game.
Yeah,
We could.
those 2 little channels to come out from.
Yeah.
Technically had 3, you just chose not to go for James.
Well, we did have a chat about it at the start, didn't we? And it was we can either go for we're either James or Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie
And it
made
was-
more sense.
The problem is if we went for James, then Charlie would just shoot us completely in the back.
so
whilst James doesn't have that much shooting.
Yeah.
But he did have the movement.
Yeah, we need to take the punches from the shooting.
Yeah, I suppose you could
clear that.
you could have maybe like spent another turn getting shot to sort of form up a bit, but then the damage you were taking was
No,
a bit
it
wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
It
But
was
that shade was
The
absolutely
show was lovely.
annoying.
The shade was very good.
It's when you plonked Gully in the middle and we shot him with everything and then he lost 2 wounds and then my Bolter rolled a 1 and then missed.
Yeah, that was class.
That was exciting.
That was ballsy. It paid off.
Yeah. I think it's not too much more to say other than that. Like, you know, you kind of did what you should do, sort of paralysing heroes and stuff. I think good just a bit on form today, really.
We managed to get 2 of our targets, didn't we? And
Yeah, you
take
did,
a wound off Círdan as well.
Yeah.
And saying that, I think you managed to hold up Glorfindel quite well.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't really
Glorfindel
manage to
much.
get in the mixer at all. He was held up for pretty much the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you came around, either you came around that flank and you had to go through the orcs, or we had to go behind and left a very small contingent of orcs and the werewolves.
Yeah.
Even though you cleared them out pretty quickly.
He just walked through those werewolves and the warg chief.
He was always going to though, because he's the scariest model.
But like you said, we managed to get him out from anything important from the whole game. So.
But yeah, no, I think
Tough.
right strategy maybe, but just kind of tricky execution.
Relying on loads of orcs, probably not.
Relying on orcs to do the business, but yeah.
What are your thoughts, Charlie?
Well, I'm
Charlie?
Yeah, excuse me about that.
Alright, well, yeah. Alright, cool. On that note, hope you guys enjoyed that and we'll join you guys next time.